Hi, it's Rob from the Bobsphere, and it's time for another wrap up. Well, February was a very good reading month. No duds, and yeah, no DNFs either. So, there's no need to go in any particular order. I like them all. There are the standouts. There's always the book of the month. We'll go into that. So, oh yeah, and they're not in any particular order. So let's start. Okay, Trevor Zara is Malta's most prolific author. And I have read, let's say anyone who lives in Malta has read Trevor Zara. This was a book originally in Maltese called Vespri Vespers, and it's been translated into English this year by Claire Vassallo. It's very good. For even for foreigners, if you've never read Maltese literature, it's more or less a good introductory point. There are very few books translated in English. This is one. I would take advantage of that. So yes, it is good. So I've said before, and I made a video on its coincidence with another book to another book. But you can see that video over there. I'm too lazy to link and so on. The thing is, if I take a long time, I'm not going to spend 5 hours editing. I don't have the time to do it, and it'll just put me off doing these types of videos. I have to be quick and just put it out there. Okay. So, I said before that I'm going to be reading all of Margaret Atwood's 17 novels. This is her first. I actually read the second one first. No need to go into that detail. This is her first, The Edible Woman, and it's very, very good. It's about a person who's kind of, she's in a dead end job. She's marrying someone she doesn't like. She's got a weird relationship with another person. And she has to realize who she is. And that's the only way she can break free. Really good. Really good. And it's got quite a disturbing ending. The Tainted. This was given to me by the author. Thank you. And I hope I am pronouncing it properly. Calvary? Madhaven. Madhaven. So, the author actually gave this to me, sent it back in October. It arrived a few weeks ago. Anyway, this is about the Irish brigade in India, pre-independence. And what happens is that one soldier falls in love with another, a half Anglo, half Indian caste, which is not allowed. And it leads to consequences and secrets which all occur in the future. It's very cleverly structured, it's very well written, it's a pleasant story. It's a cracking good read. I am also planning to read all of Iris Murdoch's books. I've read about 6 already, but I want to read them in chronological order because I heard there's a difference between early Murdoch, mid-age Murdoch, and then towards the end. And I can see why. Early Murdoch, this is her second novel, The Flight from the Enchanter. Early Murdoch is basically what she's doing is she's experimenting with techniques she would perfect later on. So this has a lot of her trademarks. A group of people and all their destinies are mixing together, and there's a sense of sort of vague magical realist, but very vague. It's not like Garcia Marquez or something like that. Just touches of it. And something sinister and spooky. It's okay, but I've seen it done better, let's put it that way. But if I didn't read any of her other books, let's say like The Sea or The Nice and the Good, or even The Bell, I would have liked this a lot more. Okay, one of the 2 non-fiction books I read this month, this is Aidan Martin's Euphoric Recall. Excellent. It is a memoir about addiction, both sex and drugs, and how one can conquer it. It is a positive book. I don't think that's the right word to use these days, but it's you know what I mean. It's an enlightening book then. And it shows that with education, you can go places. It's a very heartfelt one. I liked it a lot. I usually don't like addiction memoirs. I've read quite a few and I found them self-indulgent, but this one breaks the mold completely. Highly recommended. Okay, Voices of the Lost. This was by Hoda Barakat. Okay, this is Arabic book. It won a lot of prizes in its native homeland, its native land. Right, it's about these people, different from different backgrounds and different genres, genders, all writing letters to loved ones, and what unites them. Some crisscross, just a couple, but what unites them is the fact that they are living in a politically war-torn country and they have to survive. Now, some of the destinies of these people we find out in the next half of the book. Some make it, some don't. It is a heartbreaking book, but it'll it's poignant. I will not be surprised if this goes on the International Booker long list. It's coming at the end of March. Okay, Vinegar Girl. It's a lot of collecting actually. I have all the Hogarth's Modern Shakespeare series. This is where authors retell the plays in novel format. This one is Anne Tyler's Vinegar Girl, which is a retelling of Taming of the Shrew. It's what you'd expect. If Anne Tyler had to retell Vinegar Girl, it'd be exactly like this. It's the same story, except with a modern update. Think of the film, which is also based on 10 Things I Hate About You. It's just very similar. It's along the same lines. It's good. It's okay. Nothing special. I'm not over Anne Tyler, but I'm sort of used. This is her latter period one, though. I'm sort of used to I know what I'm going to get. So it takes place in Baltimore. It has someone who's a bit socially awkward. Has someone who isn't. But then things come out all right in the end. The socially awkward girl is married to a foreigner, and he's a bit rough as well, but then she warms up to him, etc., etc. It's a good criticism on foreigners in America, that I will say. So at least you put that in. I like that. It's okay. It's okay. Right. Okay, this is not really something you can say you enjoy reading. This is a graphic novel. I did a book versus film. I haven't done that in ages, but I managed to see the two. Right, my friend Dahmer, the author here, Backdurf, it's not his real name, was childhood friends with the serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer. I'm not going to go into what he did. It's very shocking. And what it does is it traces his beginnings. I mean, what makes a serial killer, and shows his life, how his parents treated him, etc. It's interesting, but I can't say it's not true. You don't see any killings. Not even the animals there are roadkill, so it's not blood. It's not gory. So it's quite tasteful in that sense. And it's not empathetic either. It does show that this was a sick person, but still, it's about a serial killer. You know what I mean? If you're interested in this, I would say read it. That's all I'll go. I won't say it's Marvel. Or like when I read what's that guy's name? The Jimmy Savile book. You read it, but you don't enjoy it. It's the same with this. Okay, now we're going to the star reads. So, you've got this. I've always wanted to get something from Rough Trade Books. And finally, I had an opportunity to, and I bought Goblins. I also bought there's also a novel, but, the post is so awful. Who knows when it will show up. Anyway, not that awful. It's bad. But it's not anyone's fault because of Brexit and the pandemic. So, anyway. So this is by Jen Kaleya. She is Maltese, but she lives in London. This is her book, Goblins, and it's very interesting. It's an essay. And what it's about is how she compares the goblins of today's society, which are the predators of the music business, which she has met, to the goblins that she liked watching when she was a child. And I've seen these exact same films. I've seen Labyrinth, I've seen The Dark Crystal, and I'm trying to remember what else. And not fairy tale theater, The Storyteller. And a goblin means an impish person, sort of trickster. And she compares the two, and it's very cleverly done. And there is the nostalgia factor, which I did enjoy. I watched those films too when I was a kid. Highly recommended. Okay, this was a reread for my the book club, the IRL book club I co-run. We decided to do a thick book for once, because usually we do ones under 250 pages. It's marvelous. I read it back in 2013. I loved it then. Here, I loved it even more now, and it confirms that The Goldfinch is the best of the 3 Donna Tartt novels. I should do a separate video on this, because I could go into too much detail, and we're already going over the 10-minute mark. So I'm going to just be really brief. It's about a boy whose mother is killed in a terrorist attack in a museum. He steals this picture of the goldfinch, and it leads to a series of adventures. Some are by chance, some are by his own will. But there's a lot of monologues if our lives are, if we have blah 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 blah, if we're predestined, or how do we overcome it, and things like that. How do we break free? Whether life is bad, or whether if it's worth living. It's really, really good, and tackles a lot of issues. And it's like, wow, I couldn't put it down. And the book of the month is The Stromness Dinner by Peter Benson. Apparently, this is the person's 9th novel. I already did a small video on this, so I'm not going to go into that. I'm not going to link it either. You can find it if you want. Does that make me sound arrogant? No. Maybe lazy. I am lazy. But I have a lot of stuff to do. So, it's amazing. That's all I'll say. Brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Everyone should read this. It's very accessible. Okay, what's next? I am judging the BookTube prize. And finally, all the books arrived. There were 2 already. One was Hamnet and The First Woman. And those 2 I read and reviewed. Now, these are the rest that arrived. I am not supposed to give my opinion on them, but I can tell you what I am reading. So I'm just part of the first round. I don't know if I'll be part of the second, third. So we've got Leave the World Behind by Rumaan Alam. Akwaki Amenzi, The Death of Vivek Oji. Sigrid Nunes, What Are You Going Through? Run Me to Earth by Paul Yoon. So that's the judging part, because these have to be done by the end of April. But I want to finish them now. I like finishing things early, because since I have a huge TBR. Then I've got review copies, but those will be in the next wrap-up. So I don't think I'll be able to tackle my TBR, maybe a couple of novels. But then after April, I'm checking, in fact. April, I've only got 2 proofs. So maybe I'll be able to focus there. And then May, I've got Maltese literature. And then June, I'll probably read The Seasonal Quartet. And then July, we've got, it's Booker season. Plus, I've got, this month, there's the Women's Prize for Fiction and the International Booker, but I will not be tackling the long lists. I'll be only tackling the short lists. So that will be my May reading as well in June. Depends how fast they are and which ones I've read. Books. And it's World Book Day this week. Well, as from 4th March. Okay, how was your month? Tell me what you read. Hope you read something good. Take care, and hopefully see you next week.